All right, so we're going to work through the Unit 2 portfolio, interpretation of data. The lesson is on things like calculating statistics from a set of data. Things like the mean, the arithmetic average, the median, the middle value, the mode, the most frequent or popular value, the range, that is the highest value minus the lowest value. Those are the easiest ones. Okay. Then we've got to calculate something called the variance and the standard deviation. That's a little more involved. I've generated a list of numbers here on my screen. The table you have in your lesson, in your worksheet, is a table of weights for football players. I've generated my own list, so I'm going to calculate based on this list. And you've got to calculate based on the list you have. So your results are going to be different than mine, but the process will be the same. Okay, so in order to calculate the mean, we want to take the total. Now, in order to make things more workable, I'm actually going to work in Microsoft Excel. If you have a school computer, Microsoft Excel should be available. If you have your own computer and have Microsoft Excel, great. If you don't have Microsoft Excel, Google Docs, Google Sheets actually will work as well, and that's free. If you want to use OpenOffice's spreadsheet, you can, but the commands for Google Sheets and OpenOffice's spreadsheet are going to be a little different, but it still can be done. All right, so I'm going to open Microsoft Excel where I've got this table here. One of the things I'm going to do actually, because right now if I hit F9, it's actually, yeah. Let's see. Recalculate. It should hit it. It should and recalculate it. Anyway, I'm going to do this. I'm going to equals and then the cell reference. Actually, no. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste. But when I paste, I'm going to paste options. I'm going to paste values. Okay. And the reason I'm doing that is I don't want these numbers to change anymore. Okay. So now I can get rid of these numbers here. I used a random number generator to generate the table. Okay. All right. So here's my list. All right. So the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to calculate the mean. There is a way to do this, right? We can take the sum. So sum of all the numbers. Okay. And then we can take that sum and we can take equals this cell, divide by how many there are. There's 3 times 8 or 24. So I get a mean or an average of 198.75. Okay. 198.75. And I'm going to leave it like that. So we're going to say total and the mean. Okay. There is a faster way to do it in Excel, but what we're after here is how these are calculated. You add them up and divide by how many there are. Okay. All right. The median is the middle number. So for that, we've got to put these numbers in order. So I'm going to create a little bit of what's called a stem and leaf plot. Okay, if you're familiar with a stem and leaf plot. But basically I'm going to, well, I'm actually, with this list, I think I'm just going to try and sort them. Looks to me like 174. Let's just do this. 164, 174, 243. That's the first row. 207 is going to go between these. 232. Between these, 232, 209, and that's between these. However you get them in order here. Okay, That's the second column. 168 between these. Okay. And actually, it just occurred to me, there's another way. 250, and I'll show you that way here. 250, 159 at the top. 159, 179. Okay, 247. 176. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, 194. 167. Right here. 167, 150. Oh, that's smaller than 159. 250. So there's a second 250. Okay, another thing I'm going to do, I'm going to set my alt window freeze panes. That's going to lock that here. Okay, 250, 180. 180, 235, 235, 188, 195, 194, so there's a second 194. 244, 185, and 180. So there's a second 180. Okay. So there's my numbers in order, 150, 159, 164, 167, 168, etc. All the way through 250. It goes from cell 30, row 30 to row 7. So 30 take away 6 is 24. Good. Got 24 entries. All right. So we didn't miss one or anything like that. Now, the thing that occurred to me is you could just type these numbers in any old order, highlight them, and choose data in Excel, and there should be a sort right there, alphabetical, or smallest to largest, and that'll automatically sort them. So that's another way you can do it. You could also sort them in a word processor, but however you do, get them in order, because the median has to do with finding the middle. Okay, so I'm going to write the median over here. And the median is the middle. Now there's 24 numbers. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 is half of 24. Okay, so that means that the middle is going to be between the 12th and the 13th number. So between 188 and 194. 188 and 194. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type equals 188, actually parentheses, 188 plus 194, and I'm going to divide by 2. So add and divide by 2, or you can do it by hand. And the median is 191. 191 is halfway between 188 and 194. Okay. Now the mode is the most popular. Now, there happens to be several numbers that repeat, and you can see this if you look at them in order. Let's see, 180 repeats, right? 194 repeats, and 250 repeats. So this is trimodal, okay? So what is it? 1 which one's repeated? 180. Okay, and 180, 194, and 250. Okay, so any number that repeats, the number that repeats most often is the mode. In this case, we have a three-way tie, so it's trimodal. There's three modes. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So mean, median, mode. Range. Range is the biggest minus the smallest. Okay, so that would be, in my case, 250 minus 150. So I'd say equals 250 minus 150. And that's a range of 100. So 100 is the biggest minus the smallest. So mean, median, mode, and range. Okay, those are really the easy ones here. Put them in order, find the middle, average the two middle numbers if there's two in the middle, add them and divide by 2 for the median. For the mean, add them up and divide by how many there are. For the range, take the biggest minus the smallest. For the mode, take the most popular, the most frequent one. If there's more than one mode, then we list all the numbers that tie. If there's no number that repeats, then we say it has no mode. It's amodal. Okay. Now let's get into the calculation of the variance and the standard deviation. So I'm going to change my view a little bit. I'm going to zoom 100% here because I want this to fit here. And that's a little small. Let's do a special zoom. What does custom 150 look like? Okay, that's still here. I'm going to unfreeze. Okay, and I'm just going to scroll down here so that we can see row 7 all the way down. All right. And that's still a little bit large here. So let's say 140. There we go. I think that'll fit. All right. So these are my x values. I'm going to head this with x, right? The first thing we do in order to find the variance, and the formula for variance is really important to note here. The formula for variance and the symbol for variance is sigma squared. Okay. The formula for variance is to take each of the numbers, we call them x sub I, subtract the mean, we call that x bar. So each number minus the mean squared, and then average. So this sigma means add them all up, divide by how many there are. Okay, that's called the variance. And the standard deviation is the square root of the variance, and its symbol is just sigma. This is a lowercase sigma, this is an uppercase sigma. So x sub I, each x value minus the mean squared, averaged, add them up and divide by 2, divide by n, the number of entries, and then square root. So that's the only difference between standard deviation and variance. Variance isn't square rooted, standard deviation is. And you can kind of see we squared, so you want to unsquare or square root to kind of counter that. So it's a type of average variance. It's an average spread of types. Okay, so that's what we're going to calculate here. So the first thing I want to calculate is the x sub I minus the x, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to take each of these values, take away the mean, right? So I'm going to do 150, take away the mean. Now, if you recall, the mean was right up here, 191. No, that's the median. Mean is 198.8. Okay, so I'm going to type equals. I'm going to take cell A7, just the left arrow, minus the mean. The mean is going to be 198.8. Now I'm going to go to the mean, but I'm going to hit the F4 key. That puts dollar signs in front of the cell reference, makes it what we call an absolute reference. So it always refers to that cell. Okay, so 150 is 49 below the median, or the mean, below the mean. If we expand that, and it's 48.75. Okay, and now I can just copy and paste all the way down the table, and I get all the differences. Okay, so each one of these is found by subtracting, and you can do this by hand if you want. Take each value and subtract the mean. Right? That's all we did. We took each value, we subtracted the mean. Now, according to my formula, we subtracted the x sub i's minus the x bars. Now we're going to square. Okay? So I'm going to do the square, so the second power. Okay? All right, so I'm going to take the previous entry and raise it to the power of 2. Shift 6, that's the caret key. Raise it to the power of 2. Okay, and there's our squared value. I'm going to copy and paste that all the way down. Okay, and there's all of our squared differences. Notice there's no negatives. That's because when you square a negative number, you get a positive answer. You get a positive number. Okay, so we have taken the difference between each value and the mean. We have squared each value. Now we need to average them. That means we need to total them up and divide by how many there are. Okay, so I'm going to do down here, I'm going to do the total. And I'm going to use equals sum. In spreadsheets and Excel, sum means to add them all up. And you can use your mouse to click and drag over the whole list. You can use your keyboard if you hold down the shift key. Okay, so there's the total, right? 23,000, okay? And then that's the total, so we just add them all up. Now we need to divide by how many there are, okay? And that'll give me the variance. So the variance is now found by taking that total and dividing by 24. Okay, so the variance in this case is 995.188. There's actually more digits than that, I'm sure. Okay, but now we've done that. So we have taken each value and subtracted the mean. We have squared the answers we got. We've added them all up, and then we've divided by how many there are. That gives me the variance. Now to get the standard deviation, all I need to do is take the square root. Okay, so standard deviation, I'm just going to say SD, and then equals up here. For a square, actually, before that equals, SQRT is square root. SQRT, parentheses, right up here. So I'm going to take the square root of that. And I get a standard deviation of 31.5. 31.5. Okay. Let me go ahead and hide all this here, just so we can kind of now take a look at what we've got here. Okay, so for this data here, my mean is 198.8, my median is 191, my mode is trimodal, so it's 180, 194, and 250. My range is 150. My variance is 995, and my standard deviation is 31.5. Okay, and so the mean is 198.8 plus or minus a standard deviation of about 31.5. Gives you a feel for the spread. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you need any help.